rectum. And some people say no, it's not really the fat near the rectum. It's really this fat near the heart. So that fat will not work as a good sealant.
Schmaltz.
Okay. Amar Rava. Shmaita minei to Rav Nachman Tarte. I heard two things from Rav Nachman. Chimtza. So there was a certain fat near the one of the stomachs, and he wasn't sure which one was a good fat for a sealant and which one was not a good fat. Chimtza ubar chimtza chad sasam chad lo sasam. One of them could act as a good sealant, and one could not act as a good sealant in regards to the keva. Right? So one was called chemtza, one was called bar chamsam. Chad sasim, chad lo sasim. One of them act as a good sealant, meaning if it would go on, it would work, and one would not. And I don't remember which one was the kosher fat, and which one was the unkosher fat, or which one was the one that would work sealant. Yeah.
So kosher fat or non-kosher, this fat would seals the hole. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes. I was just saying we learned the Gemara yesterday that we know that the kosher fats were good sealants and non-kosher fats weren't good sealants. So I'm just assuming we're looking at that premise now. But now we're talking about that we know that there was this bar chimtza sealant on the keva, and then there was this chimtza sealant on the keva, and we're not sure. One of them was a good sealant, and one of them was not a good sealant. They're both fats that sat near the keva. One would, if there was a hole in the keva and you pulled it out, and then you saw this fat on it. If it was one of them, it was kosher. If it was the other, it was not kosher. So that's what we're trying to understand. Which fat?
How do you know?
Just wait.
So we're going to discuss it. So Rav Huna bar chimna, Rav Huna bre Rav Nachman Amar bar chimtza sasam. So bar chimtza was the good one that worked as a sealant, and chimtza lo sasam, and chimtza did not work as a sealant. So Amar Rav Tavus b'simanacha. And how do you know which? And how do you remember this? Yafa koach habei mikoach ha'av. The bar chimtza is the good sealant because we know there's this general idea sometimes in halacha. This is quoting from Masechah Shavuos. Yafa koach habein mikoach ha'av. There's a certain case where you go to court and the son is in a stronger position than it had been the father there in his place. So regarding taking a shvuah, so he's just using that as a mnemonic to help remember this idea that the bar chimtza is the kosher fat and the chimtza is the non-good one as regards to the sealant. Hi chimtza v'hai bar chimtza. Okay, let's get more specific. Which is the chimtza and which is the bar chimtza? Which is the fat that works as a good sealant? Which is the one that's not? Tashma de Amar Rav Nachman. He's going to prove it from this machlokas that they had of the people of Bavel and the people of Eretz Yisrael. Inhu mechel achlai. The people of Eretz Yisrael would actually eat it. This fat of the kava. Ulidan mistam nami lo sasim. And then the people of Bavel wouldn't even use it as a sealant, so it must be what it's saying kind of cryptically is there's a machlokes in Eretz Yisrael and Bavel about a certain fat, whether it was whether it would be a good sealant or not, whether it was kosher or not. So the idea was that this fat that they were arguing about must be this bar chimtza. So, just to make it a little bit clearer, because we're going to get into it. So, if you see, this is the kiva. This is one of the stomachs we're talking about. We're talking about fat near this. So, there's there's fat underneath it, where it rounds, and we're going to say there's a fat that's kind of like the bow and arrow fat, like the bow side, that is the rounded side of the bow, and then there's the flat side, the string side, the fat on top. So, which one of these is the fat we're discussing? And it's gonna end up being that the bar kimtza is the better way is the one that works as a sealant, and the kimtza one will not work. The chimtza one does not work as a sealant.
So what, the underneath doesn't work, or the top?
The underneath's not going to work, and the top one there's going to be a machlokas in. We're going to say. So the akashta kule ama lo pligi da aser. With regard to the akashta, the one that's shaped like the rounded part of a bow, this one, everyone agrees, that's completely forbidden. You can't eat it, and you can't use it as a sealant. Ki pligi da yisra. Where do they argue? On the straight edge one, on top here, this one. This is where they end up arguing. And it's going to come out if they end up arguing there. So that's what he's saying, that the people of Eretz Yisrael say you can eat it, and the people of Bavel say well, you can't eat it, but you can use it as a sealant. They're not going to go as far as to say it's completely unkosher. Ikeda Amri, and there's a second way of viewing this machlokas. Everyone agrees the straight edge part on top is kosher. Ki pligi da kashtam. Where do they argue? On the rounded part on the bottom. That would be
non-kosher.
That would be non-kosher, and that's where they're arguing whether it's a well, that actually ends up not, according to the second opinion, that doesn't relate to the chimtza or bar chimtza. Okay, now going back on the first opinion, Kihad Amarav Avia Amarabi Ami Mekamsin. It's like that which Rav Avia said in the name of Rav Ami. We take off a little of the fat of the straight edge part before we eat it. Meaning now we're saying that according to those who say that this is kosher, this flat part on top. So he's saying even those who say it's kosher, before you eat it, you would actually take off the first layer. Why? Because the first layer was sitting underneath, you can't see it in this picture, but there was fat on top of it that was for sure not kosher fat. So in order to make a getter around that, you peel off the first layer, so you wouldn't accidentally eat the unkosher fat.
Fat over fat.
Fat over fat from a different organ, and that fat on top was for sure not kosher. They held that this fat was kosher, so they said, okay, so you want to be careful. You just take off the first layer because it was touching the unkosher fat. So Amar of Avia have kamina kamed Rav Ami. I was once in front of Rav Ami, and I watched him, tear off this top layer and eat it. So it's kosher as long as you take off the top layer. Shame de Rabbi China have kame de Rabbi Chanina. So the shamish of Rabbi Chanina, his attendant was in front of him. Amar like kmot havle de echel. Go get me this specific piece of fat that's on top of the keva. That's the flat part to eat. And he saw that he was hesitating, that he was unsure. So Amar le bavlayat. You're from Babylonia, right? Because they held that, like the first opinion in our Gemara, they held that it was completely unkosher. So gumshti. So in that case, fine, just throw it all away. He didn't want to put him in a difficult position. There's a lot of ramifications, I guess, to asking someone, even if you hold it's kosher and he holds it's not kosher, it sounds like it could potentially still be an issue, or maybe he was just being polite, maybe he was going to dine with him. But either way, so this piece of fat, this controversial piece of fat, which was kosher in Eretz Yisrael, not kosher in Babel, according to the first opinion. And even if you would eat it, even those who said it was kosher, you would have to take off the layer first before eating it.
I know, but anyhow, it gets mixed up, a piece of it goes in there, and non-kosher goes into the kosher.
Right. So you might say, just don't even eat the fat.
Don't even.
So it's very possible. I'd be curious today's day and age. They might just take it off completely. A lot of these laws we paskin much more l'chumra today. We're going to see, like later on with the checking, we're going to see there's certain leniencies the Gemara brings up today, but I don't think we utilize them. Okay, Tanya, we learned in the Brisa. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Amar, B'nei Ma'ayin Shenikvu V'lecha Sotman Kshera. If the intestines were punctured and the fluid that came from the intestines itself sealed it up, it's kosher, right? So we're going. So we know that if the intestines have a hole, it's a treifa. So what's the case here? We're not talking about fat sealing it up. We're talking about the fluids that are inside the intestines, the filling it up, and we're saying that acts as a good sealant. According to Rav Shimon, my lecha shirka amar Rav Kahana shirka demaya denafik agav dechoga. It's the sticky fluid of intestines which is stuck very well in there, which doesn't really move out easily. Meaning, so I guess it congeals in there a little bit. It ends up being a nice solid. This is what he's talking about. He's saying this liquid stuff on top of the intestines, this yellowy stuff, if it ends up, if you see a hole, but it was filled with that, it's okay, according to Rav Shimon, because it's going to be stuck in there well, and it's not going to get out. So it's not a hole that would have led to it being a treifa. So now that's cool, obviously. Because normally we'd say a hole in the intestines is a treifa, and now Rav Shimon's giving us a kula. We saw yesterday, Rav Shimon gives us a lot of kulas. It sounds like it, right?
Well, the same shop.
So, what's that?
Sounds like Chullin.
Yeah,
like,
Chullin.
yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just mucus here.
Exactly. Gemiri. Well, I guess the point is they had certain traditions on what worked and what didn't.
What they found inside.
Right. Gemiri Chavrei de Rabbi Abba Rabbi Abba. The colleagues of Rabbi Abba learned from Rabbi Abba. Umanu Rabbi Zera. And who was the colleagues? It was Rabbi Zera. V'amri lechavrei de Rabbi Zera Rabbi Zera. Or others say it was the colleagues of Rabbi Zera. Umani. And who was the colleague of Rabbi Zera? Rabbi Abba. Amar Rabbi Abba Brei de Rabbi Chia Bar Abba. Amar Hachi Amar Rabbi Chia Bar Abba. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. These rabbis said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Halacha Rabbi Shimon Gamliel B'Treifa Halacha Rabbi Shimon Be'eval. That this kula of Rav Shimon, the halacha follows. And also there's a kula we're going to learn about later. When it comes to Avelis, it also follows Rav Shimon. So halacha Rav Shimon ben Gamliel B'Treifa Ha Da'arman. The halacha that we're following, that we're saying follows Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, it's the treifa we just discussed, right? It's the liquids of the intestines that got in and sealed it up, a hole that it's not going to be a treifer. And then Rabbi Shimon ba'eval mahi. But what's this halacha of Rav Shimon that regards avelis that we're going to be following? Ditznam, we learned in the Mishnah. Kol shlosha yamim harishonim bo memakom karov monimanim mimakom rachok mona la'atzmo. What's it saying? We're saying that when it comes to avelis, when you start the count of shiva, right? We know there's 7 days of shiva. So if a person is within a day's walking distance of nearby, and he didn't hear about the shiva for some reason, but then he finds out about it and joins. If it's within the first 3 days, his count, he gets to be mitzvah, if he gets to join their count, and he can start, if he came there on day 2 or day 3, he can then, and he only has to do, 5 or 6 more days at that point. He doesn't have to start his own count. You attach. Other mourners, presumably same family, because it's only, who are the people who sit shiva?
Krovim.
It's krovim, or I guess it could be, someone through marriage potentially, but it's the krovim. So mikan ve'elech afilu b'makom karov mona la'atzmo. However, if it's after 3 days, even if he's close by, he has to start his own count. Meaning, if you come on day 4, it doesn't matter. Even if you're close by, you start from day 1. Rabbi Shimon Omer afilu b'yom hashvi bo b'makom karov moniman. As long as you're close by, you can come on the 7th day, do 1 day of shiva, and you're done. Right? The rabbis had 2 qualifications. You have to be close, and within the first 3 days. Rav Shimon says you'll only need 1 qualification as long as you're close and as long as you catch 1 day.
What does it mean to be close?
Within 1 day's journey.
If you come in,
You don't have to. The point is you didn't know about it. You weren't sitting shiva, so you missed the first few days. You get to
Email was down.
the email, but the fact that you could have known is enough to say you're joining the shiva. That's
So in practical, for today, that means basically anywhere in the world. I mean, 1 day, right? I mean, you could basically get from anywhere in the world.
So we're going to get into it. We're going to see how we pass, and the Gemara is going to go through it a little bit. But generally, what we're going to see at the end of the Gemara is this idea we learned to Moed Katan, that generally when it comes to matters of shiva, we always paskin l'kula, which is why we're going to end up saying we paskin like Rav Shimon. So you could be mitzdarif even later in the process. It sounds like.
But practically speaking, we don't.
No, some people do. Some people do. When my father passed, and then there was a whole question of whether we could join my aunts and uncles who didn't go bury in Israel because we could mitzvah for their shiva. It turned out it was a problem because they started shiva when we got on the plane with the body. They were able to start shiva already. We could only start shiva when he was buried. So, but otherwise it came up. They were talking about this idea of mitzvah.
What? You can start shiva before somebody's in the ground?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, you can't, and you can't even say kaddish either.
You can.
If it's leaving, if it's going far.
If it's going like somewhere else,
And that's what happened. The plane left. My aunts and uncle started doing shiva, right? And then they finished shiva. They finished shiva like a day or 2 before we did, because they started that. Okay, let's keep going. We'll see some more of these laws of the show. Amar Mandahu, and someone who they didn't know, an anonymous person, Isku v'isa v'egmara, l'shmaita m'pume d'mara. If only I can have the schus to go to Eretz Yisrael and learn this and learn this from the person himself. I guess he wasn't sure if it was 100% true that we follow Rav Shimon or not, so he wanted to hear it. He wanted to hear this matter himself. Ki salak eshkach l'Rebbe Abba Brei Rav Chia bar Abba. Sure enough, he went up to Eretz Yisrael and he found Rav Abba, the son of Rav Chia bar Abba. Amar leha Amar Mar. Is it really true that we follow the kula of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel when it comes to treifa, right? That the fluid from the intestines will work as a good sealant for a hole? So Amr lei, hi, ein halacha amri. No, I said the halacha is not like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Right? Similar idea we saw yesterday. Fine. Rabbi Shimon ba'avel mai. And what's the din with Rav Shimon when it comes to avelis? Do we follow him or do we follow the Rabbanan? That's, they have to come within the first 3 days. So Amr lei, pluktaninu. It's a machlokus where we follow Rabbi Shimon Gamliel in regards to Shiva. To Itmar, in regards to avelis. To Itmar, Rav Chizda Amar halacha. Rav Chizda says the halacha is in accordance with Rav Shimon. V'chein Amar Rav Yochanan, and so too does Rav Yochanan. Rav Nachman Amar ein halacha. Rav Nachman says we do not follow Rav Shimon when it comes to Shiva, so you can only be mitzvah within the first 3 days if you're close. Vein halacha Rav Shimon ben Gamliel b'treifa, and the Gemara paskins for us, as it constantly does throughout Chullin, it seems, that the halacha is not like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel with treifa. We are l'chumra. The halacha Rabbi Shimon ba'avel, and the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ba'aveles. Halacha the Amar Shmuel, because what does Shmuel teaches us this dictum? Halacha kedivrei hamekel ba'avel. The halacha is in accordance with the lenient ruling when it comes to aveles. So this is very halacha l'maisa that we use the lenient ruling with aveles. It happens all the time, but there's a big question Rabbi Rosner brought down of how you apply this leniency of the dini aveles. So one opinion in the Rishonim is that it's only when it comes to a machlokas tanaim. So Rav Shimon versus disputants that's in a Mishnah or a Brisa, you go with the Mekel opinion, but maybe on a Moraic level you would not. And then another opinion says no, even the Amoraic level you always follow the Amora who has the most lenient opinion. And then a third opinion is no, even on the psak level, the commentators who came after the time of the Gemara, you generally have the ability to follow the more lenient rulings of the poskim.
So
3 different views.
Which one is kosher la-Pesach opinion?
So I think there's a ton of minhag when it comes to avelis. I know, like Rabbi Reichen's very often very lenient, and Chassidim are very lenient supposedly. I think there's difference of opinions. My guess is there's probably differences between Sfardim and Ashkenazim, but I think it's a lot. Hilchos avelis is very minhag oriented.
Let's say my grandfather passed, and my uncle was traveling from Israel to Iran. This is a long time ago. So he didn't know. Okay, so he showed up like a month after.
Yeah.
So again, he sat Shiva for 7 days by himself.
Probably for this.
No, Gemara Moed Katan deals with that. I don't remember the exact specifics of the Gemara, but the Gemara deals with that exact scenario.
Yeah. He was on a boat, you didn't know.
Right.
He
had a Shiva. But he did 7 days?
That's what you said.
I think the first 3 days.
I've heard it sit right. I thought you should Shiva after. I don't know if it's full 7.
You don't,
I don't remember the exact laws. That's very interesting.
He showed up the 30th day, but he sat there for the whole 7 days.
Gotta get going. Gabriel's getting antsy.
Yeah.
We got ground to cover. Right, but I guess it depends how long. If you find out 10 years later, maybe. Who knows? So, all right. Amar Rav Shimi Barchia. Mekifim b'vnei mayim. Okay, this is an interesting idea. New idea. We can compare the mayim, the b'nei mayim, the intestines. What does that mean? Meaning, if there's a hole in the intestines, and you're not sure if the hole came as a pre-existing condition or after the slaughter. Meaning, did the hole come before it died or after? The nafka meaning being, if it came before, it's a treifa. If it came afterwards, it's not a treifa. So what you do is you come and you make a second hole on the intestines, and you see if it looks the same as that hole. If it looks the same, then it must have been done after death. So Hanu b'nei mayim de'asu l'kamei d'Rava. So there were these punctured intestines in front of Rava. Akfinu v'lo idamu. And so he punctured a second hole, and then they were not similar to the holes, so he assumed it was treifa. And so Asarav Mashar Shibrei Mimashme Behu v'idmu. So Rav Masharsha, his son, came and he rubbed it. He handled it a little bit, and then the color changed where it looked like the first color. So then it was then kosher because you were able to say, it must have been a hole that was done after the slaughter because I did this hole after the slaughter and it looks the same color. So Amar le Manalacha, aha, where did you learn this teaching? So Amar le Kame de Mimashme Bahane Mekame Deles Lekame Damar. No, I didn't hear from anyone. I was smart. I used my reasoning. How many people handled this before it ended up in your possession to do your psak? So I knew that people had handled it, so subsequently we had to handle this new wound as well to be able to measure it against the other to see if it's the same color. So Amar le Chakim Bri Betrefos Krebi Yochanan. My son is a chacham in Trefos similar to Rabbi Yochanan. And we know that there's we saw a teaching earlier that Rabbi Yochanan is very smart with trephos, right? I think it was Shmuel. Someone sent the a bunch of organs for Shmuel to inspect, for Rav Yochanan to inspect. So he was a baki in trephos. So Rav is saying, my son's also a baki in trephos. Rav Yochanan and Rav Elazar de Amri Chavayo, Makifim Bereya. This is pretty interesting, right? So you can do this thing in Makifim, this comparison, you can also do it with the lung. So Amarava, Lo Amran Ela Ba'osa Ruga. When can you do this comparison of the lung? You can only do it when it's in the same row, meaning right side with right side or left side with left side. Maruga laruga lo, but you can't do from one side to the other side. The halacha sa afilu maruga laruga, and the halacha it's even more expansive. No, you can even do side to side, midaka ladako, megasa lagasa, and you can as long as it's a small to small or a large to large, meaning it's an una to an una or an uma to an uma. Right? We avalo migasa v'ladaka, avalo midaka lagasa. Right? As long as it's you could do left to right. As long as, remember, going back, we're reviewing our lungs. You have if you're staring at it the way we've been staring at it through the Gemara, where it's upside down hanging, you have 2 little ones on the top left and 3 little ones on the top right, and then a big one underneath and a big one underneath. So the big ones are called the uma, and the little ones are called the unot, which is comes from the word ear. So you can do the trick as long as it's a little ear one like versus a little ear one like, but you can't do a big one to a small one or a small one to a big one. And it doesn't matter left side or right side is what we're coming out with saying. But you can do this trick. But what's interesting is I just I heard this from Rabbi Rosner as well, just going back to this. So this works, but we don't do this actually. He says you're really not supposed to, today's day and age, we've accepted that we don't really use this, meaning we look at the holes in the lungs and they don't then start puncturing other holes to see if it appeared afterwards. You would only do this if you had a reason to believe that the hole came afterwards. I mean, in times of the Gemara, they're not qualifying that way, but he's saying as a matter of halacha, we take a more stricter view on this than really use this. And he says the reason for that is because a lot of this stuff was Masorah, and we lost our tradition on this stuff, and we're not exactly sure how to utilize it.
So if the hole gets sealed up by the fat around, the lung.
That's a different law. We saw that. So we use that. We use that leniency as well.
Right.
Right.
So is that?
Yeah.
Is that?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Sure?
Well, we saw there was, as long as it was, I don't know if we saw fat in the lung. I don't know if there is fat in the lung. We saw it in the stomach. But I don't think we saw fat in the lung.
The lung had those
right.
strings.
Right. We didn't. I don't think we saw it in the lung. We saw it in the. We saw within the lung. We saw it in Hijin, a sircha, which we saw was a whole conversation, and we saw scabs. Scabs are for sure not good, and certain sirchas could be good.
Yeah.
That's what we saw with the lungs.
In today's day and age, you're probably shechting.
But my guess is, I have a feeling they might. I'm pretty sure. I think they throw out all the sirchas these days. They don't play games with that. Even though you could check it, but I think they generally throw it out.
But it's a hot dog.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Abaye v'Rava de Amri Chavayo, Makif and Makana, and we could even compare if there's a break in the kana, in the windpipe. You could do the same trick. You could break it. You could break it in another spot. Amra Papa lo Amra and Ela ba'osachuya. So the kana has a different has different properties as it goes up or down or one side to the other side. So as long as you do it in the same 3-ring band, as long as you do the same chulya, you can't compare the whole of the kana in a different area where the chulyas are different. But from a completely separate band to this band, no. No, and we say more leniently, you actually could go from chulya chulya. However, from the chulya to the bar chulya to the sub band, or you could even do the bar chulya to the chulya. Avalo mechuya labar chulya, avalo mibar chulya lechuya. But not from a band to the sub band, and not from a sub band to a band. So what's that talking about? Here's where it's showing over here. Here's the chulya. So it's saying if the whole length. So it's kind of like this part of the circle is thicker, and this part is thinner. So you see it's different. So they don't want to, underneath here to up here is very different. I think that's the issue. Okay, Amar Ziri. New topic. Chalcholet shenikva kshera. The chocholet, which is the rectum, if it has a hole in it, it's nonetheless kosher. That's not considered a fatal wound. Hoel v'reichayam ma'amidas osa. Why does that? Why do we not have to be concerned about the fecal matters kind of getting into the stomach and potentially being deadly? Because the hips support it. I guess it keeps it tightly in there where it makes sure it doesn't go out. The comma and how much. When you said it can have a hole and it's still kosher, how much do you have to have left of the chocholet? Amar Rabbi Yochanan makom hadavek berubo. As long as the majority that's adhering to that's clinging to the hips is there. Shalob makom hadavek b'mashu. However, where it's not stuck near the hips. Even if it's missing a little bit, it would be a treifa, because at that point the fecal matters would have the ability to escape.
Is that the rectum you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's right near. Yes, the rectum. Amru Rabbanan Kamei Derava Meshmei Derab Nachman. So the rabbis were teaching this in front of Rava, and the name they were quoting Rav Nachman and saying this. So Amar Lava Mina Lachu. Haven't I told you? Lo tit lube buki srike. Don't say these empty pictures. Meaning, do not hang empty pictures. Do not meaning that's a way of saying Rav Nachman did not say this. You're saying stuff that Rav Nachman did not say. This is what Rav Nachman said. Makom hadavek, where it clings to the hips, afilu nito kulo kosher. Even if there is only a little bit, it's kosher. V'hu shenisayer bo kedei tivisa. As long as there's enough, what's a little bit? As long as there's enough to grab onto something. The comment, how much is enough to grab? Amarabai bimlo bedate b'torah, the width of a finger. So as long as there's this little amount left that you can grab, that's the width of a finger of the rectum near the hips. That's kosher. Then we don't have to worry about the fecal matters escaping. Okay, next item listed in our Mishnah. So there's the kares, right? We know the kares is one of the four stomachs. So the Mishnah said that the kares hapnimi has one law. It was machmir. It was basically that the kares hapnimi that it would be if it had a small hole, if it just had a hole, it would become a treifa. Whereas the chisonets, the outer kares, you need a majority for it to be a treifa. So we need to understand what are these two parts of this kares, and we're going to have a lot of different opinions.
David, so homosexual animals, they're not kosher?
Why is that?
Okay, let's move on.
Got it. Yeah, okay. Beyond the scope of the shir. But the point is that we know halachically and through science there's four stomachs. So one of them is kares. So the Mishnah tells us the inner kares is a hole would be fatal, whereas the outer kares you would need a majority puncture for it to be fatal. So we have to be able to define which is the inner and which is the outer, and it's really unclear clearly because there's 7 different opinions as to what is this inner kares. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Hay Natsan Bar Shila Reish Tabache the Tzipor Lefnei Rabbi Mishum Rabbi Nasan. So this head butcher of Tzipore, he testified in front of Rav Nasan. Izahu Kares Hapanimi. What is this inner kares, the inner pouch? Sanya Dive. It's the Sanya Dive. It's the thing that is hated by the wolves. What's the thing hated by the wolves? It's this part that basically takes. I think it takes in all the bad. It takes in all the bad stuff, and it smells really bad. It would be putrid even to the wolves.
They call it
It's called what?
They don't even eat it. But even then, they will the smell.
And they can't see it or they can't smell. They won't see it. Okay, and it's called in English. It's called the cecum, and I think this it's near the it's near the intestine. I think this and it has this bad smelly refuse. It seems like. V'chein Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Karach Sanya Dibay. Right, so he also agreed it was the cecum. Rabbi Shmuel Amar. So that's the first opinion. Rabbi Shmuel Amar istomche de kresa. It's something called the istomche de kresa. Istomche, which sounds like stomach, right? The stomach of the kresa. So and I don't think we're really sure what that is. Rav Asi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Makom sar yesh bakares ve'en yodeh ezu. And he says it's the narrow section of the kares, and he's not exactly sure where that lies. Amar of Nachum bar Yitzchak. So what does he say? He says it's nafal karsei bebira. So by the fact that you told us it's this narrow section, you don't know where it is. You basically fall in this inner patch that it kind of has to go away. You're not helping us. So Amar Rav Acha bar Rav Ava Amar Rav Asi min hametzer lamata. So what is that point? It's from where it's narrow and it goes down and it's right near the what he's saying is the commentators tell us what he's saying is that's right near the food pipe where it gets thin. So it's where the chorus gets thin near the esophagus. Rabbi Yaakov bar Nachmani Amar Shmuel Malkum she'ein bo melas. So what's this penimis, this inner keves? It's the inner chorus. It's the area that does not have what looks like these woolly hairs on the chorus. I guess there's a part that's smooth. It doesn't have it, so that's the part that would be this intersection that has this more stringent laws regarding trephis. Rabbi Avini Amar Ganiva Mishmei the Rav, and Ravina said in the name of Rav Tefech Beveshes Samech Lakaris Zuhi Karis Hapanimis. What is it? It's the end of the veshet, the end of the esophagus, the last part of it before you get to the karis. It's next to the karis. That's what the inner karis is. It's the end of the esophagus. Yeah, it's really not the karis. It's right next to the karis. Amri B'marava Mishmei Rabbi Yosef, which kind of fits because we know there's only 4 stomachs anyway. I guess it's unclear what any of this is. Amri B'marava Mishmei Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, Kol HaKares Kula Zuhi Karas Penimis. Really, the whole entire karas, what we know as this whole stomach, that is really the karas penimis. So in which case, the ezuhu karas hachitzon. So if that's whole thing's the karas penimis, what's when the Mishnah says the karas hachitzon? What's it talking about? It's the basar hachofet es rov karas. It's like the muscle. It's the muscle in front of the stomach. Alongside of it, that is the chitzonis. And I guess that muscle would be ripped, and majority that would be a treifa. Rabbi bar Rav Huna Amar Merafta. He says Amar Merafta. Rabbi Rav Huna. He says, what's this karas penimis? It's the Merafta. It's the Merafta. So my Merafta. What's Merafta? Amar Rav Avya Hecha Defare Tapche. It's the when the butcher slaughters it, it's the whole underside of the stomach. It's the whole underside. It's the whole underside of the karas. That's what Rabbi Bar Huna says. So a bunch of different opinions. And then Ben Hardai Avdei Karaba Bar Huna. In a Hardai, they would do like Rabbi Bar Huna, right? They would say it's the whole underside. So Amar Le Rav Ashla Memar Kol Hani Shematamai. But what about all the other teaching? How come you're not concerned that you're going to be over an Isser Deraisa, of having this incorrect? So Amar Le Kula Hu Shaykhin B'Draba Bar Huna. No, because the Rabbi Bar Huna's view is very expansive. It includes all the other views. It's a wider area. So Dravasi Amar Rabbi Yochanan, but that's not true because what about the view of Rav Asi and Rav Yochanan? Right, one of them said it's unidentified. I mean, right? Rav Asi Amar Rav Yochanan, the one that Rav Asi said in the name of Rav Yochanan, he said he doesn't even know what it is. So how can you say it's included? Amar Le Kvar Pirsha Rav Acha Barava. No, Rav Acha came and explained that's the one near the close to the esophagus. Udrabi Avini Udre Marava Mai. And what about Rabbi Avina and the people of the West? What about them? Who they said it's I think one of them said it's part of the esophagus itself, and one of them said it's the whole thing. So Amar Le Hani Vade Pligi. No, for sure he argues in them. Okay, next part of the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Bigdola. So he said in regards to just going back to the Mishnah. He said he qualified this law. He said when it comes to Gedola, it needs to. It's not.
Stop here.
Why stop here?
There's 28.
We go for two more seconds. He says it's a tefach. He says it's a tefach. And when it comes to a katana, he differentiates between the size of an animal. A gedola would be a tefach, and the katana it would be the majority, the beruba. Mm-hmm. So Amar Rabbi Binyamin Bar Yefes, Amar Rabbi Elazar, lo gedola mamash, lo katana mamash. He's not talking about specifically a large animal having a different rule and a katan animal having a different rule. Ella kol shenukra ba tefach v'lo havi ruba zuhi sheshunei b'gdol tefach. Rather, he's saying and then ruba v'lo havi tefach zuhi sheshunei b'ktana baruba. He's saying that if it's a if in a scenario where the majority would not be as much would not be done, but a tefach would be done, then that would be a treifa. And in the scenario where it's not even a tefach, but it's a majority, that would also count as a treifa. All right, we'll stop here.
Great job. Great job. You're off the hook? You did great.
Really? Okay, let's get that back up. Oh, very nice.